On February 3rd, 1637, a merchant in Amsterdam quietly signs the paper in front of him. What he's getting in return isn't a ship or a warehouse full of spices, it's a single flower bulb, nothing more. And the price he's paying for it equals the cost of a stone mansion sitting on the canal. That same week, someone else sells his field and his oxen, even the clothes off his back, just to join the same madness. Then, only a few days later, none of these people can sell their bulbs for even the price of an onion. Fortunes evaporate overnight. So let me ask you something. Were these people actually stupid? No, not even close. They were ordinary people just like you, staring at a screen right now, wondering, should I get in on this too? The story I'm about to tell isn't really about a flower. It's about that strange, ambitious, hope filled creature we call a human being. Get ready, because the real story of Tulip Mania is far more striking and far more human than you think. Let's set the scene first. In the first half of the 17th century, the Dutch Republic had become one of the wealthiest regions on Earth. Thanks to the Dutch East India Company, ships loaded with spices, silk, and porcelain kept pouring into Amsterdam. Even an ordinary merchant could build a small fortune within a few years, and this newly rich class wanted a symbol of status to show for it. Today, people buy luxury watches or sports cars. Back then, they bought tulips. The tulip had arrived from Ottoman lands, exotic, rare, and stunningly beautiful. The most prized ones were the broken tulips with flame-like streaks of color, and everyone wanted one. Nobody knew it at the time, but those streaks were actually caused by a virus infecting the bulb. So the most valuable tulips in the market were, quite literally, the sick ones. Let me tell you the first story now because it captures the spirit of that era perfectly. There was a variety called Semper Augustus, white petals slashed with red flame patterns, and it was practically legendary for its time. A single Semper Augustus bulb was worth roughly the same as a canal-side mansion in one of Amsterdam's finest neighborhoods. People were buying and selling these bulbs without ever seeing them, because so few actually existed in circulation. Demand exploded so fast that traders started signing paper contracts for bulbs that would only be delivered in the future. People called this whole business Windhandel, wind trade, because nothing solid was actually changing hands, just a promise on paper. One satirical pamphlet from the era even listed the goods you could trade for a single bulb called the Viceroy. Wheat, fat oxen, barrels of wine, a silver cup, even a bed. It was written with some exaggeration in mind, but it captures exactly how people saw things back then. The second story is a bit more painful, but just as telling. A sailor wandered into an English merchant's warehouse and spotted something that looked like an onion sitting on a counter. He was hungry, so he picked it up and ate it, assuming it was nothing special. But what he'd actually eaten was one of the most expensive tulip varieties of the era, worth a small fortune on its own. When the merchant realized what had happened, he reportedly had the man thrown in jail. Historians still debate how accurate this story is. But what it captures is exactly right. The same object could be lunch for one man and a year's salary for another. Here's the third story, and this time it's about a completely ordinary person. A weaver, a modest craftsman who made his living with his hands, heard that his neighbors were getting rich buying and selling tulips. So he sold his savings and even his loom just to get into the market. And within weeks, he was watching paper gains he'd never imagined possible. This is exactly where the most dangerous trap in human psychology kicks in. If everyone else is winning, why shouldn't I? What we now call FOMO turns out to be nothing new at all. By the autumn of 1636, the very same story was repeating across the country. Tailors, carpenters, farmers, even household maids were pouring into the tulip market. No expertise required, just nerve and a little greed. Then came February of 1637, one of the sharpest turning points in economic history. In the city of Alkmaar, a merchant had recently died, leaving behind a collection of tulip bulbs auctioned off to provide for his orphaned children. That day, prices hit some of the highest levels the market had ever seen. But just days later, at a routine auction in Haarlem, no buyers showed up, not a single bid. That silence spread through the entire market like a spark catching dry grass. Panic set in almost overnight, and everyone tried to sell at once, but nobody wanted to buy anymore. Prices collapsed by as much as 90% within days. A bulb worth a mansion the day before couldn't fetch the price of an onion the next. After the crash, Dutch courts had no choice but to step in, since almost nobody could afford to pay debts that large. Eventually, they found a workable solution, letting buyers settle contracts for just a small percentage of the price. Now, I need to be honest with you here, because my goal isn't just to tell a good story, it's to tell the true one. Historians, most notably Anne Goldgar, have pushed back on the popular version, arguing Tulip Mania wasn't quite the society wide catastrophe popular culture likes to describe. The number of people genuinely affected was fairly limited, mostly the wealthy merchant class. But its lasting impact wasn't economic, it was cultural. It shook people because it exposed just how fragile trust really is, and how a shared belief in an object's value could evaporate overnight. So, what does this old story tell us today? Honestly, not much seems to have changed. Look at the dot-com bubble in 2000, the housing crash in 2008, or more recently, cryptocurrencies and meme stocks, and you'll see the exact same pattern. An asset emerges, its story becomes irresistible, and early buyers make serious money. News spreads, everyone rushes to jump on the same train, and the price fully detaches from reality. Then one day, for no obvious reason, that shared trust suddenly disappears. There are more than 380 years between a tulip bulb and Bitcoin, but there's almost no distance between the humans buying them. Maybe the real question is this: how do we know when we're inside a bubble? Usually the answer is simple. If you're holding an investment purely because you believe the price will keep rising with no real value beneath it, you're probably inside one right now. In the tulip example, too, people weren't believing in the beauty of the flower, they were believing the price would keep climbing tomorrow. And that's exactly why Tulip Mania is still worth telling. It reminds us that economics was never just about charts and numbers, it's woven from our fears, our hopes, and our need to believe in one another. The next time you see a bubble forming, ask yourself honestly, do I actually believe in this? Or am I just running because everyone else is running? History keeps showing us the answer is usually the second one. If this story caught your interest and you want more where history and finance collide, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. See you again in the next one.